You have $11 in your checking account, not $11 and some change, exactly $11, because you moved the last $4.72 to round up your electric bill so it wouldn't bounce. Your fridge has eggs, 2 slices of bread, half a jar of peanut butter, and a condiment drawer full of hot sauce packets you've been collecting from fast food places you can barely afford. You're not starving. You want to be clear about that. But you are always, always aware of the number. The number follows you. It sits in the back of every conversation, every decision, every time someone says, "We should grab dinner sometime." You do the math before you answer. You always do the math. This is what most financial content never talks about. Not the spreadsheets, not the investment portfolios, not the passive income strategies. The psychology, the way money, or the lack of it, rewires how you think, how you feel, how you see other people, and how you imagine they see you. If you've ever wondered why money changes people, or whether it would change you, stay with this. Channel name doesn't do surface level. This goes all the way down. At $11, the dominant emotion isn't sadness. It's vigilance. Your brain is running constant threat assessments. You check your balance the way other people check the weather. Reflexively, compulsively, because the information is mission critical. You've developed a kind of financial hypervigilance that psychologists have actually studied. Scarcity, they found, doesn't just affect your wallet. It colonizes your cognitive bandwidth. When your brain is consumed by a shortage, it has less capacity for everything else. Long-term planning, creativity, patience, emotional regulation. You're not lazy or irresponsible. Your mental RAM is just full. The thing nobody tells you about being broke is that it's exhausting in a very specific way. Not the exhaustion of labor, though that's there too. The exhaustion of decision fatigue on a small scale. Should you spend $1.89 on the generic version or $2.49 on the name brand? Should you put $20 in gas now or wait until payday and risk running out? Every day is a series of micro-negotiations with a resource that keeps shrinking. And somewhere in the back of your mind, always is a number. Right now, that number is $11. Now let's move. Because this isn't just a story about poverty. This is about the entire spectrum. You get a better job. Nothing glamorous. Maybe $42,000 a year, which feels, for the first time in your adult life, like breathing. You can pay your rent without doing arithmetic at 2 a.m. You can say yes to the dinner. You can buy the name brand version without feeling like you've made a moral error. Psychologists call this the baseline relief threshold, the point where immediate scarcity anxiety starts to fade. You're not wealthy. You're not even comfortable. Not really. But the number in your account has enough buffer that it's no longer the first thing you think about when you wake up. Here's what surprises you. You thought this would feel like freedom. And it does, a little. But mostly it feels like silence. The absence of a noise you didn't know was always playing. The vigilance doesn't disappear right away. You still feel a physical anxiety when you check your balance, even when the number's fine. You still pick up free ketchup packets at McDonald's, even though you don't need them. The habits of scarcity outlast the scarcity itself. Economists have a phrase for this: poverty psychology. The way that chronic financial stress leaves imprints on behavior that persist long after the financial situation changes. At $42,000, you start having a new problem. You start comparing. You look at your coworkers, your college friends, the people on Instagram who seem to have graduated into a different economic reality than you. You make roughly the same salary as some of them and dramatically less than others, and the gap creates something you didn't expect. Not hunger exactly, but a kind of ambient dissatisfaction. This is where hedonic adaptation begins to work against you. You adjusted up. The baseline relief already became your new normal. Now normal feels like not enough. Push the number higher. $80,000. Maybe $95,000 with bonuses. You are, statistically, now in the upper middle band of household income in most of the developed world. You have a 401k. You have a car payment you can actually make. You have, for the first time, what feels like options. Not unlimited options, but options. And here's where something interesting happens psychologically. You develop the illusion of control. Money above a certain threshold starts to feel like a buffer against chaos. Medical bill? Probably fine. Car breaks down? You'll figure it out. Unexpected expense? You have a credit card with actual available credit on it. This sounds like security, and it is, partially. But it also creates a kind of magical thinking. You start to believe at a subconscious level that you have purchased your way out of bad luck. That bad things happen to people who can't afford to prevent them. That's not what you'd say out loud, but it's what you start to feel. The other thing that happens at $80,000 to $100,000 is the lifestyle creep. It's not malicious. It's barely conscious. You move into a nicer apartment because you can. You eat at restaurants where the appetizers cost what you used to spend on groceries. You buy a $600 winter coat and you don't feel guilty because the quality is objectively better. Each upgrade is defensible. Each upgrade is also, quietly, recalibrating what normal means. The trap isn't that you're being wasteful. The trap is that your new baseline costs $80,000 to maintain, and if that number ever goes away, the fall feels much further than it is. Now jump, because the real psychological discontinuities happen at the borders, not the middle. At $250,000 a year, something shifts that's harder to name. You're no longer worried about money in any practical sense. You can absorb a $10,000 emergency without going into debt. You can take a vacation without a spreadsheet. You are, by any reasonable standard, doing extremely well. And yet, the research is consistent on this point. Somewhere around $75,000 to $100,000. Additional income stops improving daily emotional well-being at the same rate. You've crossed what researchers at Princeton famously identified as the threshold where money stops buying happiness in the ordinary sense. What it buys instead is something different. Status, optionality, insulation. At $250,000 a year, you start to exist in a different physical reality. The restaurants are different. The flights are different. Not first class necessarily, but no middle seats, no Spirit Airlines, no 6 a.m. departures to save $80. Your social circle, gradually and without intention, starts to consolidate around people who live at roughly the same altitude. This isn't snobbery, it's just that the reference points align. When your friends are also earning $200,000 to $300,000, a $1,500 weekend trip is normal. It's not extravagant. It's just what people do. And your sense of normal shifts again, this time far enough from the $11 days that they start to feel abstract, like they happen to someone else. The psychological danger at this level is what behavioral economists call the upper middle class trap. You are wealthy enough to have eliminated real financial anxiety, but not wealthy enough to have eliminated the anxiety about maintaining wealth. You have a lot to lose now. The fear of downward mobility is real, and it functions almost identically to the scarcity fear you felt at $11. Same vigilance, same cognitive load, different object. Instead of watching your checking account, you're watching your portfolio, your company's performance reviews, your industry's trajectory. The number is bigger, but the dread has the same shape. Now we go somewhere else entirely. At $10 million net worth, money stops being a tool and starts being an environment. You don't think about affording things. You think about how you want to deploy resources. This sounds like a subtle distinction. It isn't. When you can't afford something, money is a constraint. When you can afford almost anything, money becomes a language. A way of expressing priorities, values, identity. And the psychology shifts accordingly. What you didn't expect at this level is how quickly the extraordinary becomes ordinary. The first time you fly private, it's genuinely surreal. The second time, it's convenient. By the sixth time, commercial feels like a minor inconvenience. This is hedonic adaptation running at full speed, and at this level, there's almost no friction to slow it down. Every upgrade is available. Every adjustment gets made. And so you keep adjusting, and the baseline keeps moving, and the gap between where you are and enough somehow stays constant. The social dynamics at $10 million are strange in a specific way. You can now see clearly the strata above you. The $50 million people, the $200 million people, the people for whom your net worth is what they spend on a renovation. And this creates something that sounds absurd from the outside but is psychologically documented: the wealthy poor. The person with $10 million who genuinely feels that they don't have enough. Not because they're going hungry, because the comparison class has shifted. You're at the bottom of a very small, very expensive social hierarchy, and human brains are extraordinarily bad at thinking in absolute terms. We think in relative ones always. You can feel poor with $10 million if the people around you have $200 million, and that feeling is psychologically real even if it's objectively absurd. At this level, something else happens. Insulation. Not just from bad luck, but from feedback. When you have money, people tell you what you want to hear. Your jokes get laughed at more. Your opinions get challenged less. Your ideas, even the bad ones, get serious consideration because you have the resources to act on them. This creates a slow erosion of your calibration. You start to think you're right more often than you are. You start to trust your judgment on things outside your expertise. The money doesn't make you stupid, but it removes the friction that would have corrected you. And friction, it turns out, is how you learn. Go higher still. $100 million. The number where money becomes almost purely theoretical. At $100 million, you have crossed into a territory where daily life is entirely managed. You have staff. You have a person who handles logistics, a person who handles investments, a person who handles the things those people can't handle. Your time, which is, at any wealth level, the actual scarce resource, is now protected by layers of people whose job is to give you more of it. And this is genuinely freeing in some ways. You can focus, you can create. You can do only the things you actually want to do. But the thing that nobody prepares you for is the loneliness of it. Not isolation in a social sense. You have more invitations than you can accept, but a different kind of loneliness. The loneliness of not knowing whether people are there because they want to be or because of what you represent. The loneliness of a shrinking group of people who will tell you the truth. The loneliness of having problems. Real problems. Existential problems. That nobody around you takes seriously because the visible material conditions of your life are so obviously good. The research on extreme wealth consistently finds this. Above a certain threshold, the primary psychological challenge isn't acquiring more. It's maintaining meaning, purpose, the sense that what you do matters for reasons beyond the returns it generates. The very wealthy people who are psychologically healthy tend to be the ones who found something, a mission, a creative project, a cause, that the money serves rather than being the thing the money is for. The ones who didn't find that tend toward a specific kind of restless dissatisfaction that looks from the outside completely inexplicable. And here's the thing that connects $11 to $100 million. The thing that the entire spectrum has in common. At every level, people believe the next level will feel different. At $11, you believe $42,000 will fix it. At $42,000, you believe $100,000 will fix it. At $100,000, you believe $1 million will fix it. At $1 million, you believe $10 million will fix it. And at every level, there is a partial truth to this belief. Things do change. Some anxieties do dissolve. Some freedoms do open up. But the fundamental experience, the sense of incompleteness, the comparison to whoever is above you, the fear that it could go away, that doesn't change. It just finds a new object. The most honest thing the research tells us about money and psychology is this. Money solves the problems that money can solve. And those problems are real and they matter. And solving them matters. Below the threshold of real security, additional money genuinely does improve life in measurable ways. But above that threshold, somewhere in the range of reliable safety, health, and comfort, the returns diminish sharply, and the things that determine whether you're actually okay stop being financial at all. The $11 version of you couldn't believe that. The $100 million version of you is just starting to figure it out.